Lovely thought.
The two ladies walking in,
Okay.
we're right.
Okay, we're going to start the meeting. This is the welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, July the 6th, 2015, 2 o'clock p.m. in Council Chambers. We'll call the meeting to order, and we have the adoption of the June 15th regular open minutes. Those will be adopted by consensus. Any business arising from prior minutes? No. But introduction of late items, one of the items that we're going to do is postpone business number 5. We have not had time to deal with it yet, and that number will be postponed until the next meeting. So could I have the agenda adopted as amended, please? Thank you. That would be King Roads. All in favor? Thank you. Delegations. We have none, and water matters, none, and correspondence, none. So the next thing that we're going to do is deal with the water zoning bylaw amendment for Paradise Park. Mr. Cunningham, please.
Again. The Paradise Park Lessees Association, represented by Randy North, is seeking to build a new dock facility in Solana Key fronting their RV park at 5901 Main Street. A rezoning is required under the town's foreshore and lake zoning bylaw for Paradise Park to replace their existing private dock with a new larger strata dock and retain some of their buoys. After a public hearing, Council gave third reading to attach foreshore and lake zoning bylaw number 1294.01/215 and also resolved to make a site visit prior to adoption. On June 23rd, the Mayor and 3 councillors met on site with Randy North and the Stratus consultant Brian Jantz of Lake Stream Environmental Services. An aerial photo is included in the body of this report showing the location and extent of the current dock, and another aerial has been added to show the proposed new dock. As detailed on attached diagrams, the proposed dock would measure 30 meters in length and have 4 side fingers, making up a total dock surface of 95.58 square meters, which would be connected to shore by a ramp. The dock would berth 10 boats, and in addition, the Strata wishes to retain 15 of their current 25 private buoys. The proposed strata merge facility would extend into Solana Bay to serve the Paradise Park RV Resort property, which is owned as Recreational Vehicle Residential Strata Resort R8 and contains 69 leased lots. Lakeshore properties adjacent to the subject property are characterized as single-family residential, with most of them having private docks. The Ministry of Forestry, Lands and Natural Resources has given preliminary approval to Paradise Park's application for a new dock, which was supported by an environmental impact assessment report from Brian Jantz dated June 2013. Final provincial approval is subject to town rezoning approval under our foreshore and lake zoning bylaw from the current W2 private merge zoning to W3 group strategy merge zoning. Paradise Park's existing W2 zoning only permits a maximum density of 3 berths per waterfront property with a maximum dock size of 24 square meters and does not permit group or strata merge. A W3 zoning would permit the proposed group strata merge facility but does not provide for private buoys. A copy of the W3 regulations is attached. The town's concerns are that Paradise Park's proposal meets our bylaw requirements. The proposed merge facility meets the requirements of the W3 zoning regulations in terms of length, width, and setbacks, that the rezoning has to be made site-specific to allow up to a maximum of 15 private buoys in addition to a dock for this particular location. Implications. Community benefits our resort industry by enabling the Paradise Park RV Resort to improve the merge facilities. Organizational. Some bylaw enforcement will be required to ensure continuing compliance with our zoning requirements. Budget not applicable. Significant dates. Brian Jantz of Lake Stream Environmental Services confirms that dock installation can safely proceed after July 1st when spring spawning is over. Mr. Jantz will be on site to supervise installation of all works to ensure they meet the proper provincial protocols in accord with our bylaw requirements. Sustainability. The proposed merge will improve water use safety and provide a more orderly approach for securing boats, and is not seen to negatively impact adjacent owners or other water users. The project will not have any adverse environmental impacts and may indeed create a net gain by reducing the existing number of buoys. Options. 1. Council adopts foreshore and lake zoning bylaw number 1294.01 to 15, or 2. Council could consider that the recent site visit provide the applicant with the opportunity of making a, quote, post-public hearing representation, and accordingly, members of the public should be given equal opportunity to make representations. This would necessitate revoking the previous third reading and convening a second advertised public meeting. Recommendation: in view of the competing public opinions in the application, the administration recommends option 2, that council will resolve to revoke third reading of Town Osoyoos Foreshore Lake Zoning Bylaw number 1294.01 to 15 and set a date for a second public hearing. And I must say that my recommendation is by the book. I'm aware of the legal situation, so I'm bound to advise you of that.
Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. We have spent a great deal of time on this issue. We have been down to have a look at the docking facility and the proposed one, and in looking at our foreshore and lake zoning bylaw, a W2 zoning does not fit that area well, and a W3 zoning would. It's particularly set up for, as is on the form, for this type of procedure. So my thinking is that we cannot get involved in the politics of the strata problems, and it would be up to them. Our job is to make sure that what we're doing fits our bylaw, and water use safety and providing a more orderly approach for securing boats seems to be the best way to do it. That is from my point of view, and I've said that first. So I would, if it was up to me, I'd recommend number 1, but I'm going to let all of rest of council have a say about this. Councillor Campbell.
No, I feel the exact same way as you, and when we were down at the site, that was certainly my feeling, is that there's some politics happening within that particular strata, but I don't know that, I don't feel at all that it's our part to be involved in that, and if it meets all other requirements for W3 zoning, I don't see why we wouldn't move forward.
Thank you. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I have a question about the public hearing and the legislation that's involved around that. Typically, after you have a public hearing, if you receive new information, you would have another public hearing about that. You're not supposed to listen to anybody, but this was kind of a unique situation, and myself, I gained a lot of information by going out there, including the things that we were talking about. Is that legislation optional?
Yeah, it's not legislation so much as it's formed by case examples, and in this, the case that I cited here was advice from a lawyer in one of his books. So it's not a stringent requirement of the Local Government Act or the Charter. So it's up to your discretion in terms of which route you want to take. I looked at the other possibility that there was new information. In my opinion, that does not apply. And usually, too, when the courts are talking about a case of new information, they're talking about something very substantial and significant. There was one famous case where the staff was sitting on a very large traffic study, which would have been of considerable interest to the public, and instead it was revealed after the fact that they had the document. That's the kind of thing that the courts are looking for.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this? Yes. Councillor Youngberg.
Mr. Cunningham, I understand that under the existing zoning of W2, that particular park is in contravention of that zoning at this point.
That is correct. It's non-conforming right now.
Right. So if we were to make the recommendation that the zoning change to W3, then our bylaw officers would enforce that W3 be abided by. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor Campbell.
I'd like to make a motion that council adopt Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw Amendment number 1294.01, 2015.
That's option 1. Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor Rhodes. Anyone else like to speak to it? All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. The Osoyoos Lake Water Science Forum. And before we start on this one, this includes a letter that has my signature on it. And while it's not personal money that I'm asking for, but I'm going to recuse myself. And Acting Mayor King will take over looking at this one. Okay, thank you. You can just stay where you are. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Romanko, you're going to speak on this?
Thank you. Attached, please find a letter from the Osoyoos Lake Water Science Forum inviting council to attend the forum and seeking a financial contribution in cash or in kind to service the event. This is an international event and will be held at the Sonora Center October 7th through to the 9th. The town has provided financial support to this event 2 previous times and has benefited from small profits that have been generated. The town received $12,000 to assist with environmental projects, which was derived from the profits of the previous events. Those funds were directed into Community Grant and Aid Program, and $4,000 of this funding is still remaining. The town has already committed to providing the Sonora Center at no charge, which reflects approximately $1,500 in-kind donation. In terms of implications, community, the Osoyoos Lake has been identified as a centerpiece of economic and social sustainability in our community, and any and all efforts to maintain Osoyoos Lake integrity are important to the future of this community. No organizational impacts. Budget, $4,000 can be taken out of the community grant and aid budget and $1,000 from contingency. This is not a budgeted item, so there is a need to fund these from these sources in whole or in part to avoid a budget amendment. Significant dates, the event will be held October 7th to the 9th, 2015. Sustainability, important education and information exchange that assists Osoyoos Lake sustainability occurs at this forum. 3 options are provided, the first being to provide that council provide an identified amount of grant funding in addition to the rental of the Sonora Center as a donation to the 2015 Osoyoos Lake Water Science Forum. 2, deny the request for additional grant funding for the 2015 Osoyoos Lake Water Forum. And 3, request additional information. Administration recommends option number 1. This is an international event and it is important to the community and has been supported in the past.
Councillor Rhodes?
Thank you, Acting Mayor King. I'd like to make a motion based on the wording in option number 1 and to identify the amounts as being $4,000 and $1,000 as previously mentioned in the report from those 2 sources.
As seconder, Michael, or Mr. Campbell, sorry. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed, none, passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item is the water restriction bylaw exemption request. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Council passed the following motion at its June 1st meeting. Motion 8515, moved by Councillor Rhodes, seconded by Councillor King, and resolved that Council approves enacting Stage 2 twice-a-week watering as provided in the Water Conservation and Stage Restriction Bylaw number 1273. Administration has advertised in the local newspapers on 2 occasions and informed all residents through a named mail-out. Advertising will continue throughout the restriction period and will include radio and press advertising. The water restriction bylaw provides the CAO authority to provide exemptions based on physical and mental incapacity of residents to water at directed times and special permits for new sod. There have been a few requests for exemptions because people were going out of town or irrigation systems for flowers were linked to lawn watering systems. People were informed that exemptions must be provided by council. Attached is a letter from the Elks Golden Villa asking for an exemption from water restrictions. Specifically, council is being asked to provide an additional day of watering. In terms of implications, most members of the community with lawns, shrubbery, and flowers are affected by the water restrictions bylaw. Many community members have expressed support for water restrictions, and the degree of restriction is always open to debate. Organizationally, the bylaw and front counter personnel have been responding to numerous inquiries and developing information and advertising materials. Budget, approximately $5,000 will be spent from water accounts to advertise the water restrictions. Significant dates, no end date has been identified for water restrictions. And sustainability, major sustainability gains are possible. Options, approve the request for an additional watering day for the Elks Golden Villa. Number 2, deny the request for an additional day of watering. And then 3, provide other options for consideration. Recommendation, administration recommends denying the request for an additional day of watering. The request appears to be linked to housekeeping issues that may be eliminated by additional sweeping or other cleaning methods. Careful consideration must be given to any request for exemption, with potential health and safety risks being the top most pressing factors. Although a safety risk is noted, the safety risk has the potential to be mitigated in other ways.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. I'm thinking that this could be, if this was passed, that the approval for a second day, this could open a floodgate of requests from other people. Certainly, in lieu of the problems in the province and the fact that that Vancouver has now gone to 1 day a week watering, they've already upped it. It seems that there could be other ways of dealing with these housekeeping issues rather than asking for an additional day. Those are just my thoughts. So is there anyone that would like to? Councillor Campbell.
I agree completely. I don't see it as a severe health risk. I would make a motion to deny the request for the additional water day.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that? Councillor King. Anyone else like to speak to it? All in favor? Opposed? Any? Thank you. So 1 opposed. That's carried. Thank you. Next is the water restriction bylaw exemption request. Mr. Romanko.
Thank you. I'll skip through the background because it's the same as the previous report. Attached is a letter from the GNS maintenance asking for an exemption from the water restrictions. Specifically, council is being asked to allow the owner to continue with pressure washing of buildings portion of his business. In terms of implications, most members of the community lawn, shrubs, and flowers are affected by water restriction bylaw. Many community members have expressed support for water restrictions. The degree of restriction is always open to debate. Organizationally, it's the same as the previous report, so I'll skip through that. Budget information is the same for significant dates, and same for, well, sustainability is a little bit different. The major environmental sustainability gains are possible, but economic sustainability of water-dependent businesses may be jeopardized. 4 options have been presented by the administration. The first one being, for the purposes of the 2015 Phase 2 water restrictions, approve commercial pressure washing of buildings to occur under special permit and authorize the CAO or his delegate to approve these permits. 2, approve the request by GNS maintenance for a special permit to enable this pressure washing of building service in 2015 Phase 2 watering restrictions. 3, deny the request for a special permit to enable commercial pressure washing of buildings by GNS maintenance. And 4, provide other options for consideration. In terms of a recommendation, the administration recommends option number 1. The request appears to be linked to economic sustainability of business. Careful consideration must be given to any request for exemption, with potential health and safety risks being the top and most pressing factors. Economic sustainability is another important factor that must be considered in the implementation of the bylaw. The focus of the bylaw is water conservation. However, it must be tempered with economic realities that certain business activity is tied to the use of water. Commercial car washers are able to operate through to stage 4 of the bylaw, and having a clean car is not a health and safety issue, but linked to economic sustainability. Pressure washing of buildings is not a health and safety issue, but can be linked to economic sustainability. In this situation, commercial businesses didn't have the opportunity to schedule around a water restriction bylaw. All business planning was done in a business as usual manner. Knowledge that water restrictions may be forthcoming may influence businesses to address commercial pressure washing of buildings earlier or later in the season. Providing an exemption to the bylaw through a special permit provides the operator with physical evidence that he can provide to potential customers to illustrate he is acting in a legal manner. Delegating this authority to issue the permit to the CAO enables business operators to receive a quick response to the request for a decision and not have to wait for a council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. This issue is a slightly different one than the other one, and so I'm thinking that we need to. Councillor Campbell, would you like to start? And what are your thoughts?
I have a couple. I understand Sierra Romanko's point on the economic sustainability of a business. My concern, I think, is that a commercial property owner now can't maintain to the level they'd like the outside of their premises through power washing unless going through this maintenance company now that would have this exemption. That would be a concern for me. That
they cannot.
Well, they couldn't do it themselves, but they could.
But they could hire by somebody else. That's an interesting thought. Yeah. Councillor Rhodes, did you have?
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I don't have a response to that. I was going to make a motion.
Cool. Oh.
Yeah.
Is there? Yeah.
I'd like to speak first.
Absolutely. Can you hold off on your motion? Yes.
I'd like to address this to Mr. Romanko. Is there any possibility that we can suggest that the approval, if given, would be during certain hours from 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. and from 6 p.m. until 10 p.m. because I've witnessed some of these washings of these buildings on holidays and Sundays, and they're out there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, just most of the water's going in the air. And so it's sort of an interesting thing that, you know, if they would abide by the regulations that we live under normally, then I think that there would be much more gained with the pressure washing.
Certainly, if there is a motion of support for this to issue a special permit, then that would be a stipulation that I could, that's just giving me additional direction that I would put into the permit.
According to the letter, the pressure washing schedule takes 2 to 3 days, 3 times a year. So when I spoke to Glenn on the phone, I said to him, is it possible that you could postpone this until later, perhaps in the end of August or something like that, when perhaps it would be better. He said that he does it 2 or 3 times a year. So and it's his business. I understand that. I'm sure there are other businesses that are also affected. I would like to see, and I totally agree with Councillor Youngberg, that if someone was wanting to do this, that they would write a letter to council, to Mr. Romanko, and that there'd be a specific address and a specific time, and that would be included in it for to allow us, CAO, to make this recommendation, if that's the way it came. So that's what I had thought of as well. But there may be other issues that we need to deal with. Councillor King.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I guess I was just relating to Councillor Campbell's comment that this could open the door to sort of every building in town asking for an exemption to water their buildings or condos or, and I just kind of throw that out.
Yeah, could be, yes. Councillor Youngberg?
I think understanding from my point of view that there are only 4 months in the year that it's feasible to pressure wash some of these buildings, because otherwise the cold weather just doesn't permit. I mean, I power wash my building twice a year, but usually in March and in October. So it's just different strokes for different folks, basically, but I think we have to be understanding that the time limit that I suggested would apply from the 1st of May until the 1st of October only. If the weather permits power washing through the winter months, that's a different story.
I'm thinking when you first said that it would only happen during these water restrictions that we would have to be concerned about it, or are you
Correct.
thinking? Yeah,
That's right.
So we don't know how long the water restrictions are going to go on. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So I'd like to make a motion based on the wording in option number 1 without any changes to it at all.
And is there a seconder for that? I will second it so that we can open up discussion on this. Would you like to explain what you mean by that without any changes?
Well, the recommended option was the wording in number 1, and I think that often when we think about these things that we complicate them by trying to over-legislate these types of circumstances. I certainly understand all of the comments and everything, but I think this is a pretty simple request from a single proprietor business person in this town that's just trying to survive by doing, part of what he offers, as a business in our community. I know this individual. I find him to be fairly responsible. He works hard, and I don't think he's out there trying to, do anything like wastewater or disturb people's sleep or anything like that, because this is an ongoing thing that he's done for years and years. His pressure washing that he does is by request from his customers. It's not by his choice. When they ask him to come and do it, it's usually for either aesthetic purposes. Many of the situations that he's trying to deal with right now today is when a lot of our spiders do nesting on stucco works, and this is the best time of the year to actually remove those things. And if you look at some of the buildings around town, they have those nest type web things all over the building and that kind of thing, and this just happens to be their prime time to do that. So really I find this to be a very simple request. I don't want to complicate it. I do like the permit thing, because I think the CAO can say to these individuals, number 1, are you a legitimate business, and this is what you're going to be doing. And if all kinds of people come in and start asking for permits, I think the CAO can wade through those and offer permits to the legitimate businesses that deserve it.
I agree, but I would like to suggest that a time of day be added to this. I just think it makes sense not to. What we're trying to do with the watering bylaw right now is make sure that people water at night or early in the morning, so that it's not, in this heat, wasted during the middle of the day. So that would be the only thing that I would add. That perhaps time of day be included in the special permit. No, you're not. I'm the seconder for your motion. That's why I'm asking.
Well, if there's any more I'd like to think about it for
Okay.
a minute, if there's any other
Councillor
comments.
Campbell, thanks.
This might help the thought, is I would support the motion if we would put the time of day in it.
And myself as well.
And that time of day is 6 in the morning till 10 in the morning?
And
I-
6 at night until 10.
I think we would have to go by our noise bylaw, which doesn't permit
Not at 6 in the morning.
7 in the morning till 10. And what was the evening? I'm sorry? Probably 6 to 9 p.m.
And it gets dark at that time anyway, at 9, so that might
Yeah,
work.
I
Is that
can
okay?
accept that as a friendly amendment, sure.
Okay, friendly
Okay.
amendment.
So the motion now reads option 1 with an addition of times in the morning and the evening.
So it would read 2015 Phase 2 water restrictions. Approved commercial pressure washing of buildings to occur under special permit between the hours of 7 and 10 a.m. and 6 and 9 p.m. and authorize the CAO or its delegate to approve permits.
That's correct. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Economic Development Service, Mr. Romanko.
Attached, please find an RDOS staff report with a recommendation to establish a regional service for economic development. All areas and contributing municipalities must pass a resolution approving the bylaw to action the regional service. Passing this resolution authorizes the regional district to include the cost of the service in the Osoyoos tax requisition. If council doesn't support this bylaw, the regional district must go through an alternative approval process or hold a referendum to receive authority to requisition the tax funding. Overview. The motivation for this bylaw is to enable funding of economic development services that have a regional significance. Historically, funding of these services has been done through the RDOS grant and aid program. The most noteworthy recipient of the funding in this category is the Okanagan Film Commission in the amount of approximately $30,000. The regional district is focused on bringing more transparency and direction to this funding and future economic development projects that must be funded. The town of Osoyoos does benefit from the work of the Okanagan Film Commission. The request in the bylaw is for a maximum of $100,000 to be allotted to this regional service. However, the requisition will be based on the annual budgeting process. Currently, the only project being considered for funding is the Okanagan Film Commission. Therefore, council may consider why the requisitioning amount is set at $100,000, providing the regional district with an additional $70,000. The additional funding provides for future projects being approved. However, is this annual additional amount too large a program development cushion? Attached, please find an email that confirms the amount of Osoyoos requisition would be approximately $8,500 if the maximum of $100,000 was expended. A regional economic development service program may fund projects that will be of benefit to Osoyoos. Budget, Osoyoos is requisitioned at approximately 8.5% of the total budget. Options: to pass a resolution supporting the regional service bylaw as presented. 2, to pass a resolution not to support this regional service bylaw. 3, to request additional information. Administration recommends option number 1. The existing programs funded under this regional service are benefiting Osoyoos. The RDOS board member representing Osoyoos will have to address the new programs considered for funding at budget time.
Thank you, and that's exactly right. This is this particular issue has been funded for many years. Just it's funded under a grant and aid program. The Okanagan Film Commission. It's been on the books for many years, as far as I know. I've only been at the RDOS for 6 months, but any other things that would be considered would have to come before a budget. So it's not like we're saying, you know, 100,000 right now. It's just that is the sort of top number, and this is the only one that's on there at the moment. So I certainly can support this. Councillor Campbell?
Can we be more specific as to how that particular program is benefiting Osoyoos?
Well, the Okanagan Film Commission has had several films that have been filmed in the Okanagan, such as, I don't know whether that's included, the one that was up here, the one that burned down. What was it called?
Godless.
Yeah.
And don't forget that what's it called? Race Canada, the Amazing Race Canada. There are 2 places in Osoyoos that are going to be. So from a business perspective, it's going to be really positive. It starts on Wednesday, Amazing Race Canada, And I know that two of the places are in Osoyoos. So I think this is one of the areas that they like, but it includes the North Okanagan all the way down and over into, I think, even Princeton.
Yeah, if I can just speak, the Okanagan Society of Films, what they do is they're kind of a primary contact for the people who want to shoot movies. So what they do, as soon as they get a request for a site, they either through their own knowledge or through a call for locations will contact us and say, do you have this type of site? So they work for the entire Okanagan Valley to try and promote the development of movie shoots in the valley.
Thank you.
So we get more than our share, I think. Yes.
So Mayor McCordoff, is this fund directed to the Okanagan Film Commission, or are there other projects that would be entertained by the RDOS and funded if it involved Osoyoos?
It's not specifically Osoyoos, but it's this particular project for $30,000 is sponsored by the RDOS, and it's been sponsored every year, as far as I know, for many years. Perhaps Councillor Rhodes. There could be other things that would come down here. What about the one that was the bird? Was something to do with birds? Was that not Okanagan Film Commission?
With Jack Black.
Remember that was
I
quite
just,
recent.
And we've had one filmed up that I looked after the house on the East Bench.
Okay.
That was put together by the Okanagan Film Commission. But my question, I think, was, does this $100,000 that we're putting aside is it simply used for the Okanagan Film Commission? Okay.
It's just 30 at this point for
So
them, and it
the
could
RDOS
be other, and they would have to
$7,000.
come back and ask the directors to put it in the budget if they wanted it. It's just that rather than just say 30, that could be used up by this one. The 100 is the top limit at this point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yes, Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'd make a motion to option 1 to pass a resolution supporting the regional service bylaw as presented. I read this as they're trying to build up sort of a war chest to 100,000 where they could allot 30,000 to the film industry and do other things in our area. So I think it's a great initiative.
Yeah, and it would have to be okay for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yes. Are you seconding it?
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else want to comment on it? Oh, Councillor Rhodes.
I'm just going to mention the Okanagan Film Commission pitches the regional district every year in a very similar fashion to the way our grant and aid program works right now. They stand in front of the board and they pitch, and the $30,000 is a little bit of a reduction over what they've received in previous years, but it's still it's such a good program. The amount of money that we put into it or will put into it and that kind of thing, the payback is 10 times that amount, and they're a credible organization, and they seem to work hard and really bring this aspect into our community. So, the exposure that I've had to it has just been really good, and so I certainly support the motion.
Good. Thank you. Yes.
And just get to the people understand, our portion would only be about $8,500. We're not supporting the whole 100,000.
No, only if 100,000 was
Yeah,
used.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Right.
Okay, so all in favor of the motion? Thank you. That's carried. Next, we have the Parks and Trails Master Plan. Mr. Cunningham.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to advise Council of our RFP results for Parks and Trails Master Plan and to approve a selected consultant. $35,000 was approved for this project in Council's 215 plus budget. The Parks and Trails Master Plan RFP was issued on May 13th with a closing date of June 5th, 2015. A copy is attached. The master plan will be prepared with input from a local stakeholder charrette planning process and a subsequent open house before submitting for council adoption as a secondary plan under our official community plan. It will provide guidance for investing in an integrated system of parks, trails, sidewalks, and bicycle lanes to serve diverse community and visitor needs into the future. The selected consultant will build on preliminary work completed under part of the town's 2014 Community Services Master Plan. 7 proposals were received. On June 30th, they were reviewed by the Parks and Trails Study Coordination Committee with Councillor Jim King, the CEO, and the Director of Planning Development Services in attendance. They were in attention as well. The Director provided detailed comparative evaluations of all proposals for the meeting using the following weighted performance criteria from the RFP. And I'll be talking to that later, so I won't repeat that right now. The 7 consultant companies that submitted proposals are listed in alphabetical order below, together with their fees and total point scoring. Cascade Environmental Resource Group Limited, Whistler, $34,000, $905.60. Their total point scoring 38. Cushing Terrell, Langley, BC, and Billings, Montana, $34,960. Points 46. Lees and Associate, Vancouver and OK Falls, $36,872 and 43 cents, 56 points. McElhaney, Osoyoos, Edmonton, $33,231 and scored 50. Recresynthesis, that's an awful difficult thing to say. Recresynthesis Consulting, Outland Design, Kelowna, $28,845, 34 points. Stantec, Vancouver, $35,899, 79 points. Urban Systems, Vancouver, $29,657, and that was 69 points. After careful consideration, the Coordination Committee recommends that we retain the service of Stantec. Some highlights of their proposal are summarized below. Completeness of proposal contents, and that's the first performance criteria. Stantec capably met all the required proposal contents itemized in Section 5 of the RFP. Their deliverables are particularly well identified. Criteria 2 captures full scope of work. Their project understanding covers our full scope of work, including our resort community context, environmentally rich but vulnerable natural surroundings, the need for integrated rural urban system of parks, trails, sidewalks, and bicycle lanes, and identification of project priorities with details such as trail cross-sections and wayfinding signage. They commit to bring forward, quote, a fresh look at all the relevant content which they recognize in our Parks and Trails Master Plan. 3. Thoroughness and practicality of methodological approach. Stantec's methodology is particularly well thought through, including a systematic approach to inventorying current facilities with base mapping, which alone out of the proposals will include information on environmentally sensitive and risk habitat areas. Well-explained level of service analysis will be fed into a charrette with similarly well-described provisions for stakeholder involvement. Prior public input for the charrette and following open house on a draft plan will be solicited using online surveys. 4. Applicable experience of company and assigned staff. A well-balanced team will be led by Justin Ellis, an accomplished tourism planner who leads Stantec's Parks, Trails, and Recreational Planning section of Western Canada. The team also includes Nayland Smith, landscape architect, Sarah Tyler, community planner with expertise in community engagement, and a GIS specialist. Completed the team is Peter Truck, transport engineer planner, who will provide useful expertise for bicycle, sidewalk, and trail interfacing. The consultants will attend a startup meeting, charrette, and follow-up open house, and maintain other regular contact via conference calls. 5. Quality of proposal materials. Best written and presented proposal of the group, which speaks well for the quality of contract deliverables we can expect. 6. Value for money. Stantec's cost of $35,899.44, not including GST, is towards the high end of the group, but still presents good value for money because of their proposal's content value. Of all, Stantec provides a very high level of confidence. Options. 1. Council agree to retain Stantec's consulting services. 2. Select another consultant. 3. Do nothing. Implications. Community participation will be promoted through the charrette, subsequent open houses, and online surveys. Organization. A Parks and Trails Master Plan will assist the town keep up with our service needs, budget resources efficiently, effectively, meet provincial best practices for assessing and making best use of Parkland DCC money, and benefit participating in regional RDOS, regional trails planning and investments. Also under our organization, our current 2007 OCP was prepared with no Parks and Trails plan in place and consequently identifies this as a priority that needs to be addressed. Budget, council budget $25,000 of 2015 resort municipality funding for this project, along with another $10,000 from reserves. Significant dates, public engagement will be seasonally timed for public engagement opportunities. Sustainability, a quality integrated system of parks and trails will serve evolving community recreational and health needs, act as an economic driver for attracting new residents and growing our economic base, and add to our resort community assets. Recommendation, the administration recommends option 1, that council approves retaining Stantec at the fixed price of $35,899, not including GST, because they are the best available consulting services team for preparing our much needed Parks and Trails Master Plan.
Thank you very much. One of the first questions that will be asked is, are we required to take the lowest bidder? And could you explain that in this case we're not, are we?
We're not, because it's an RFP. It's not a tender for a contract where the specifications of the work are very finely detailed and specified. In the terms of RFPs, you're in some ways defining, comparing apples and pears, because it's up to the consultant to make the best case for presenting what they think is good for the town and how they're going to provide it.
Thank you very much. So obviously they're the highest in the total scoring, and they've scored very high on this. Is there any? Councillor Campbell.
I would make a motion to accept option number 1.
Thank you. And Councillor King, are you seconding that? Anybody else like to speak to it? Councillor Rhodes.
This is an earth-shattering question, but we're slightly over budget. How do we deal with the $899?
Plus
Well, it'll either come out of Director Cunningham's operation budget, or we'll have to go to contingency for it.
Okay.
That'll teach me to defer to the CEO for answering a question.
Yes, Councillor Youngberg.
Mr. Cunningham, was there consideration given to Stantec hiring local sub-trades? They obviously are going to roll in here with their entire company, and I noticed that a local firm bid, and I also see that they're 29 points behind, but
Yeah.
I think the local company would have provided local employment, which we need.
Well, I think that any company that comes into town, and this could be argued even more so with one that does not have a head office here, will be creating considerable multiplier benefits in our community by buying motel room space and meals and so forth of that nature. So I think the answer is definitely yes to your answer, that they in fact will be providing local benefit.
Okay.
And at this point, just for the study, there's probably only 3 or 4 of them that'll be it'll be here when the work's done. That's the different part, but this is just the study. So there, with each one of them, there probably wouldn't be many people being hired to do this. Councillor King.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I guess as the representative sitting on the committee, it was an interesting process for me to learn, and as Mr. Cunningham mentioned, Stantec did meet all the requirements that were requested, and that reflects on the high score. And I think the other important thing, the deliverables were really set out easy for a layman like myself to understand. So I really support number 1.
Good, thank you. Could we, so do we have the motion? The motion is do council agrees to retain Stantec's consulting services. Am I correct, Miss? Okay, Miss Scott. All in favor of the motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Okay, next is general accounts. So we have get this up here. General Sun Bowl Arena cash requirements and net payroll accounts for July the 6th, 2015, representing balances in general cash is $250,551.38. Sun Bowl cash requirements of $8,182.19, and those would be adopted by consensus. And net payroll accounts of $72,610, and that is received for information. And we have a building permit report here, and it looks like, gee, we've got a couple of well, one big one there, and single family dwelling, and total for the month is $370,000, and total to date $3,734,000, and to date last year was $2,505,000. So we're certainly seeing a little more building this year than we did last. So could we have a resolve to receive the report for information, please? Thank you. That would be Rhodes Campbell. Any committee reports? CAO's report. Mr. Manko.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. Just a few of the things that the administration has been involved in the last couple of weeks. Starting in community services, I'd like to welcome Kelly Law, who will be taking over for Sarah Dyson, who is going on maternity leave. Kelly comes to us from Vancouver Island and will be here for the next year. Corporate services, a number of things that they've been involved in, certainly working the front counter and responding to water bylaw inquiries, assisting with the tax collection, and they also reviewed contract tenders for bylaw and washroom cleaning. In terms of bylaw, they've been dealing with 22 unsightlies, 3 on first inspections, 3 on second inspections, 5 sent to contract for cleanup, and 11 files were closed. Traffic complaints on unlicensed vehicles and boulevards and trailers parking along Main Street and 115th Street. In terms of the boat trailer parking lot, they continue to monitor the boat trailer parking lot, and it's all open and for full business now. The water bylaw, as of June 19th, the water bylaw was to start, and we have had a fair amount of people calling in and complaining about the bylaw and letting us know about offenders of the bylaw as well. So we're trying to respond to those requests as best we can, and also they've been working in the parks along with the RCMP. In terms of finance, taxes collected for 2015 stands at 96.14%. This is slightly higher than the last 2 years of 95.21 in 2014 and 90.43 in 2013. The pre-authorized payment plan represents 8.25% of the taxes collected, up from 6.96 in 2014. Planning and Development had the first meeting of the Waterfront Steering Committee was held on June 23rd with CTQ consultants who have been retained by the town of Osoyoos to work on our Gyro Park study, peer study. The administration met with Marnie Manders of the Regional District on June 25th and was working on advancing the Senior Planner Job Competition, and also the Fire Hall Coordination Committee met on June 30th. Public Works, they've been working to get things going for the July 1st festivities, and had some very positive feedback about the handling of the garbage and the washrooms during this event. We've made some changes, added more staffing to try and put our best foot forward. The line painters are in town right now working on the lines. And in terms of our lagoon levels, on June 13th, 2015, we had 59,000 cubic meters less in storage compared to 2015. And in July 3rd, we are now at 81,700 cubic meters less. So the golf course has really been putting a lot of water on the golf course to keep it going. And also, as of today, our storage cell 1 is at 75% and storage cell 2 at 60%. We still haven't got the high school irrigation online. Hopefully we'll get it online this week. We had some issues with the high school's infrastructure, and so we've been able to deal with that. And the well at Kinsman, we'll be waiting. We'll do that in September. We won't be able to get it done before the busy season, so we'll do that in September. And as for myself, I've been working with the Director of Operations and also the Senior Planner recruitment processes, dealt with water bylaw inquiries and complaints. We did some work on the water meter strategy development, also some meetings related to the signed bylaw enforcement, and also a review of Gyro Park operations to set it up to take a look at making some changes for July 1st. So that's my report for today.
Thank you very much. Could we have someone approve the resolve that the report be, thank you, be approved? That would be whatever your names are. Rhodes Campbell. I need to have them seated this way. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, councillor reports. Councillor Rhodes, you're first.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. You'll notice I remembered your name.
You only have one to remember.
Just a couple of quick things. Canada Day, I'm sure there'll be a lot said about that in this report. Wow, it was just absolutely amazing, right from the start with the Rotary pancake breakfast to the fireworks at the end of the day. What an amazing event, and I don't know if it's just me, it just seems to get better and better and better every year. Heard a lot of comments about crowd size once again, everywhere from 7,000 to 27,000. I'm sure somewhere in between there the real amount is. And I'll say this again like I do after every Canada Day, we need to hire a crowd counter that can nail this down for us every year so there's no more speculation. Frank Zanvali put on an absolutely stunning show again, even in spite of the fact that his father had a heart attack during the setup phase during the day. I spoke to Frank just before our meeting today, and Martin seems to be up and around and doing the best he can. Apparently he did sprain his ankle, so getting up and around and being mobile is a little bit more of a challenge, so he seems to be doing really well. So best wishes to Martin, and hopefully everything will work out for him. Attended the regional district meeting last Thursday. Just one little tidbit, and I was hoping Director Cunningham would be here. There was a motion put forward regarding a ELR exemption. The staff report had recommended that the board does not support the application. Chair Pendergraft put forward a motion to support the application, and after lengthy debate it was passed to support the application. The logic behind it kind of revolved around the fact that it's not municipalities like us and it's not regional district boards to determine whether property should be taken out of the ALR. It's actually the commission's job to do that. Supporting it does not mean that the application will be approved. So it was an interesting thing for us to go through, because I know we've been through that several times at this council, and probably will have several more opportunities to do that again. Water restrictions, I do have to say something about that. As we're all aware, the City of Vancouver moved into the same phase that we are. I'm very, very proud of the fact that we were proactive, got on board with our level and put these restrictions in. I believe phase 2 in Vancouver is a little bit different than ours. I think it's even more restrictive than ours. And, you know, anybody that has any doubts about the current drought situations in the Okanagan, particularly in the South Okanagan, and actually all across southern British Columbia, needs to really pay attention to the situation on Vancouver Island right now, where they are in fact running out of water. The city of Comox, they're now telling people how long they can have showers and what to do when they're having showers and how to conduct yourself in the shower. And I know I'm embellishing that a little bit, but it's actually true. The recommendation is to wet yourself down, turn the water off, and finish the rest of your business before you turn it on again. But you know, you try to make light of these kind of things, and there's always a little bit of humor in it. But it is a serious situation. Folks in our community that have not gone on board and don't understand the implications of not getting on board with our water restrictions really need to educate themselves and understand the benefit of following this program. We're not mean, spiteful people trying to make people's yards look terrible. That's not the way it is. What we're trying to do here is look after our future and make sure that when you turn your taps on next year, the water will actually come out. So, thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rhodes. And actually, Vancouver has enacted a 1 day a week watering as of yesterday, so they're even less than half what we are. Councillor Campbell.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. I'd like to echo what Councillor Rhodes just said about Canada Day Parade. This was the first year in my 4 or 5 years here that I was in the parade looking out. What a different perspective. When you're in the crowd, you really don't see the magnitude of the amount of people there and everything going on. And it was absolutely incredible from start to finish. The depth of the crowd, the work people put into their floats, just absolutely incredible for a community this size, as was the fireworks. It was just no words to describe how incredible that is, again, in a municipality this size. So being in the accommodation sector of the industry, you know, when you look to Twitter, when you look to social media on Facebook, TripAdvisor, and you start looking at the reviews that came out from this area, from Canada Day, people are just absolutely blown away at the spirit of the community, both from the fireworks and the parade. So kudos to everybody and everybody that volunteered and put time and effort into that, and for the community as a whole for coming out and showing their spirit. So unbelievably, job well done.
Thank you very much. Councillor King.
I guess it's really going to be repetitive, but I really want to say thanks to the Cherry Festival Committee for their hard work to pull the event off to the magnitude they do, and also to the Fireworks Committee who put on a great display in the evening. And if you really want to see some great pictures, I'd advise people to go on to the Osoyoos Times and have a look at some of the great pictures there of the event for Canada Day.
Thank you. Councillor Youngberg.
Thank you. Triathlon was June 27th, and a few of us in the community volunteered, and it was very, very successful. And we were very happy because the one gal that won the overall, her grandmother and grandfather live in Osoyoos. So Donna and Mike Mortimer were really proud of their gal who completed all 3 of the functions very quickly. And congratulations to Steve Brown, who is working right at this moment to bring the triathlon back to Osoyoos. So we're hoping we can help him in any way to make sure it's as successful next year as it was this year. Congratulations go out to the girls who are representing Osoyoos for 2015-2016. Emma Fernandez and Tiana Morgan and Bailey Toffler. We're very proud of you and know that you're going to have a great time this year while you travel around promoting Canada's warmest welcome. Congratulations. And my sentiments exactly about July 1st. It was a wonderful day. We were very busy as council, but it's all very rewarding, and the volunteers did a wonderful job. We have many volunteers that make that day happen. So thank you to all of you out there.
Thank you. And as a member of the Osoyoos Festival Society, have been for 20 years, I certainly echo all of the statements that have been made about July 1st. And it's not just the fireworks and the parade. It starts at 6 a.m. when we put up barricades on downtown, and then there's the Rotary Pancake Breakfast, and there's the Elks Beer Garden, and there's the entertainment from 12 noon until 10 p.m., and then there's the fireworks. So there's a lot of volunteer groups that get involved with this. I was down there for the cherry pie eating contest and the cherry pit spit. I know Mr. McGuire was there too. He's taken pictures of it. So I just want to thank council for participating in the judging of the parade and being in the parade and the cutting of the Canada Day cake and serving it. It's a fabulous day. It's I had my family up from Vancouver. They were just blown away by what we put on in a small town. And since then, we've had several emails. I've had it, and some have been sent to different councillors and to the town about what a great day it was, the entire day, from early morning until the fireworks. And there's lots of pictures of the fireworks. So we certainly appreciate Frank's efforts and all of the volunteers that help Frank. I was at the Mrs. Osoyoos pageant the night before, and it was terrific. And that was my first time of having the girls swear the oath, and I think we may have to change the wording on the oath because it was a little confusing. However, all three of them will, I'm sure, do an excellent job. And the three girls from last year, Tegan, Allie, and Amara, did a fabulous job. And amazing how much they have progressed and grown and feel confident during the year. So it's a wonderful program. I was also on Friday night at Music in the Park down at the Bandshell, and that was the first of many for the summer, and that's paid for by resort municipality funding. So it was Cindy Doucette last week, and she put on a great show, and this week it is Kayla and Kansas, two of our local young ladies. So come out and support them. It's great just to sit there and support Payman, because he makes great smoothies down there too. So I had one of those. On Saturday morning, the Market on Main was quite delighted to have John Yap, MLA for Richmond, here. He had been involved in doing upgrading the liquor laws, and he asked Janice St. Louis, who's the president of the Market on Main Society, if he could come, and visited three of the wineries that were on site, and visited several of the other people who got their start at Market on Main and have built up quite a viable business. So he spent about an hour here asking lots of questions, buying a few things, and was quite surprised, because Osoyoos Market on Main was one of the first to get involved in having a liquor license and having wineries, and they've all done extremely well. So we thank him for doing that. And I was also at the prison, visiting the prison one day about 2 weeks ago, and had another tour. I was there about 6 months ago when they were just before they'd put in a lot of the cement. Now they have all the cells there. And they have the coolest thing. The gentleman who's in charge put in a misting station for them because of the heat in one of the corridors, and he rigged up a hose where you just turn it on, and there's these holes that come out along this hose, and they can just sit there and cool off. And he sort of did that on his own. So it's in budget, on time, and it's an amazing facility. And there will be an opportunity for local people to go and not be put in one of the cells like I was, where they closed the door just for a picture, but to have a look at it and before it opens. And it's an expensive facility, but seems to be extremely well managed and run. So I was happy to have a tour of that. So enjoy the heat. I hope we get some rain sometime, because we certainly need it. And thank you all visitors and residents for supporting Osoyoos, Canada's warmest welcome, and that's for sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, we need to do a motion to close the meeting. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
And that would be seconded by Councillor Youngberg. Thank you. All in favor? Okay. Well, I had you guys a whole bunch of times. And besides, I forgot your name, so I had to go over here. Not doing that anymore.
All right. Now we regain.
Going back in camera for a few minutes?
Yes, we are. We'll have a couple minutes, and then we'll go back in camera. Yeah. Well, a couple of minutes, because we have to wait for to bell. We have to go back in camera. We'll wait for you. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Oh.
Which one are we doing first, Sue?
We'll just go back onto the agenda.
Bylaw enforcement is.
Yeah, we'll have to get Jeanette. Can somebody tell me what happened with the Lake Water Science Farm? Any money?
Yes.
$5? Okay, good. I'll have to phone and tell her that right now. She's coming down on Friday. Thank you.
It took a long time.
Did it? Yeah, it was a lot of discussion. I could see that. No, it was longer than that. Thank you very much. Okay, so. Yeah, like my brother and my cousin were both in the parade in cars. Like they thought 10 minutes. They came around the corner, went down the parade route. They couldn't believe it that there was that many people there. I mean, honestly, they thought this was a hokey little small town. They were just unbelievable.
Yeah, there was many more last year.